All right, how's it going today, folks? We're going to start with the It All Starts with the Guys Up Front podcast. Going to dive into some analytics for football games and see if we can monetize those. Again, always, play responsibly with what you can afford to lose, and make sure you've got yourself a savings account first and some money in that Roth IRA before you get too wild with this. You want to make this fun and try to see what you can do with upside. But we will first look at the Jets and Dolphins tonight. It looks like the Dolphins are about 2.5-point favorites. And one thing I notice about this game is that the Jets and the Dolphins, they both have pretty bad defenses so far this season. Looking at Pro Football Focus, I definitely recommend them when you want to use your own analytics to dive deep into these games. But they're both bottom 5 so far this season in pass rush with their PFF grades, which obviously makes things very hard for their defenses when they're not getting much pressure. I'm looking here too at Pro Football Reference with advanced defense, and we're looking at total pressure rate. And with that metric as well, the Jets are only getting pressure 13.1% of the time, second worst in the league. And we look at the Dolphins, they're only getting about 17.9% pressure rate, which looks to be bottom 12, bottom 15 worst in the league. So they're not getting much pressure. When you look at these offensive lines for the Jets and the Dolphins are ranked 30th with the PFF pass blocking metric. So, only doing better than Dallas and the Rams, surprisingly, with their pass blocking metric. And so that's definitely a problem for Miami, and I think it's been causing them struggles this year offensively. The Jets are a little better at 17th with a 59.1 pass blocking grade with PFF. But overall, they've struggled in these areas, and that's really hurt them at times. But when you also look at these defenses, like their coverage grades, the Jets and the Dolphins are 30th and 31st, respectively, with PFF. So you're basically saying, we don't have – these offensive lines aren't playing that well, especially Miami's. But they're playing teams that don't really generate much pass rush, and they don't cover receivers very well. In terms of stopping the run, let's take a look. The Jets are decent at 11th, but Miami's 28th. And, even if we look at tackling, the Jets are bottom 10 as well as the Dolphins. So these defenses really aren't doing much of anything well, which I think is important for Tua and Justin Fields tonight. Justin Fields is he's going to play. He's getting back from that concussion, which is always, Miami knows with Tua, it's always a very serious matter with concussions. And, one bad hit can take a player out of the game, and they want to be extra cautious. But I know Fields, if you read, Fields has said that he's just he doesn't intend to change the way he plays. He likes to run the ball, and he got his concussion actually when he was, I think, pressured on a sack. So I think he'll still use his legs tonight, especially where Miami has struggled to stop the run. And when Fields went off against Pittsburgh, he had a big day on the run. And when you look at Fields and Tua, when they're kept clean this season, they're pretty good. Fields is even a little better than Tua. Tua is a little more average in that regard. Sort of like Aaron Rodgers, you're looking at around 30th in the league PFF grade for passing and offense, which it shows that they can perform when they have a clean pocket, but they're when you have a clean pocket, you should be sort of lighting it up, and these guys aren't, but they'll still get the job done. We saw that against Buffalo's zone defense, and who's the other zone defense? And Miami also played against New England zone defense, and the passing game for Miami has looked better, but it's they're not lighting the world on fire either offensively, but they're getting the job done. And Justin Fields has been pretty good when kept clean. But when you look at how these guys do under pressure and against the blitz, Tua and Fields, they're both really struggling. So if you look at the Dolphins defense, so they lead the league in blitz at 41.1%. but they're only getting a 17.8%, a 17.9% pressure rate. So like top and blitz, bottom 12 or so pressure rate. So it's really going to be interesting tonight to see how Fields can handle the blitz. He's done really poorly against it, and so has Tua, and how he can handle pressure. Now, because the Miami Dolphins pass rush hasn't been that great, I think Fields has an opportunity to do well. I mean, he played the Bills and the Steelers this season, who are top 5 in pressure rate. And in terms of the blitz, the Steelers also blitz a lot. And Fields was fairly competent. He had a big game against the Steelers. He ran for 2 touchdowns, over 40 yards rushing. He passed the ball pretty efficiently. But got to remember, that defense of the Steelers was missing a lot of players. Like Derek Harmon wasn't active on the defensive line yet as well for the Steelers. And then the Bills also generate a high pass rush. They blitz a little bit. And Fields and the Jets just got down early, and they couldn't come from behind. Now, I don't think the Dolphins' offense is as consistent as Buffalo's, but they are showing signs of life. So I think there's still a problem if Fields gets down too much early. But I mean, we even saw with Tyrod Taylor last week, the Jets were able to come back and have a pretty good day overall, and statistics with fantasy and things like that. And I think Fields has a similar game set. He likes to run the ball as well. Tyrod Taylor had over 40 yards rushing last week. So I think Fields can be fine here and generate offense, even if he is trailing, with how bad the Dolphins' defense has been, even though the Bills haven't been that great either. But, that's one thing that's a small concern, too, is that Fields hasn't really had a chance to play a zone defense yet, and Miami plays a lot of zone. So you have to consider like how Fields can do, where he's done pretty well against a more man-centric defense this year with the Steelers. They play some zone too, but yeah, I still have some faith in Fields tonight to be able to do pretty well. And for Miami as well, the Jets they don't generate much pressure, so Tua will have time to throw tonight. And it's interesting too because the Bills were the third ranked in pressure rate, and Tua still had a pretty good game against that zone. And Steve Wilkes with the Jets, their defense, they do utilize a lot of zone coverages as well, which I think man and zone coverages are really underrated if you can look at that and how teams do against it. It's not a sure thing, but you see correlations quite a bit, I find. So we're talking about here, the Jets pressure rate, and also the Jets blitz rate, which is 27%, about top 12, 15 in the league. So yeah, it's going to be sort of like bad offensive lines against bad pass rushes. So, I mean, these are the ideal matchups you want to see for the Jets and the Dolphins offenses tonight. They should both be able to move the ball offensively. So I kind of think like, some sort of teaser like Jets plus 7.5 could work. I do have a little bit more confidence in Tua passing the ball, but I have obviously way more confidence in Fields with the run game. And he's been effective as a passer as well. I mean, I like Garrett Wilson tonight at Miami's been horrible versus wide receiver ones. And even Tyreek Hill, I mean, Sauce Gardner, he's really declined. I saw a statistic today saying how I think last year there was some PFF or some other metric where like his coverage grade was really lacking. He had a really great first 2 years in the league, but I mean, he's beatable. Evans scored a touchdown against him last week or against the Jets defense, I should say, as the wide receiver one. So I think Hill's viable. Jalen Waddle, I like tonight. The Jets are not doing well against wide receiver twos either. When I look at that exact metric we're looking at, they are third worst in the league against wide receiver two. So Waddle should be fine here. He should have a good game in my opinion. And the Jets and the Dolphins should be able to run the ball with Hill and Achane. Achane should get a lot of targets, I feel like. So I feel like for Miami, like Hill, Waddle, Achane, they're going to have no problem. Darren Waller's coming back tonight. And so it's going to take him some time, I think, to get fully up to speed. And the Jets have been pretty good, like top 12 against tight ends. So I don't expect him to have a huge game, but we'll see how he can do tonight. Maybe get a few catches, do all right. So that's that there. I'm trying to think what else I want to cover for this game. I just think it's a desperation spot for Miami. Unfortunately, if they lose at home to the Jets, McDaniels could get fired. We're set on people, but it could occur in that situation. It'd be a really bad loss. But the Jets are desperate too. And I think it'll just sort of come down to who can move the ball better offensively. I'm expecting a shootout tonight. I think it was a bit surprising that the Jets didn't contend more with the Bills, considering that like even the Saints in Miami were able to put some more points on the Bills, even though they lost. But I do think the Jets with Fields, or when they had Tyrod Taylor, they were able to put up significant points against the 25 plus points against the Buccaneers and the Steelers in Week 1. So I like the Jets offense to keep this thing close. I like points tonight. I think also the Jets defense has really just been atrocious so far this year. And Miami should capitalize on that as well. I think if I had to make a guess tonight, I might say something like Miami 27, Jets 24. I think Miami gets that cover. I think the Jets keep it close. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys like this, and good luck.